Thank you so much for coming. And I was excited that not only today we're just not having fun, but of course we're handling and tackling one of the most serious issues that affect the society. Issues that affected, there are cause to so many things. There are cause to single moms. There are cause to guys who are having father issues, mother issues. There's all that trauma, and it's very important that you guys have come to handle it. So karibuni sana. Tukaribisha from highest. Let's clap for them. So I will not address you officially, so that to chill, to relax. So Bito, pole hakuna chai ni juu ya budget. So chai mtakunywa home. Mtaidownload simu kuna ile Java Cup kwa phone yako utadownload hiyo. Bito, yes. Let's talk about, first of all, who are you guys? Who's highest?
So HIAS is an organization that stands for Hebrew Immigrant Aid Society. And here in Kenya, we started in 2002. 2002? Yes. And we mainly aim to support the most vulnerable refugees who are living in the urban areas, specifically Nairobi.
Are there refugees in urban area? Let's even start from there. I mean, it's something we didn't know. I mean, every time we hear refugees, the first thing that comes to mind is Kakuma.
Yes.
So are there refugees in Nairobi?
Yes, we have.
Kuna wale mademu waendangi nyumbani kwa club. Wanashinda aki I know. Thank you Bito. Mara kuna mademu kwa club na nao kila siku. Awendangi home. We know you today. So sorry for that. sorry for that. So there are actually refugees in Nairobi. On a serious note.
Yes. By statistics from July 2022 said there are about 80,000 refugees in the urban areas. This mainly covers Nairobi, but you have some in Mombasa, Nakuru, Eldoret. Yes, those are some of the areas where we have refugees.
My just sorry, these two questions have just generated out of interest. What classifies one as a refugee? Is it basically what we know out of layman's understanding? Ni mtu tu ana hao na place ya kuishi, because if that is it, kuna mabeshi zetu tuko nao leo analala kwa Ofweneke, kesho analala kwa Lizni, anajifanya ame blackout kwa gari Lizni, alale kwa Lizni, kesho kutu namsikia DStv ameenda wapi. What classifies one to be actually fall under the group of a refugee?
So a refugee is someone who has fled their country, yes, due to a well-founded fear of persecution. And this persecution may be due to political reasons, it may be due to their ethnicity, their race, their religion, and even sometimes due to their gender identity. So those are some of the reasons that someone may have left their country, yes.
David, let me ask, what is intimate partner violence? Is it what we really know? Ni unawasema mnachapana kwa hao like nichape show me how much of a man you are. What is intimate partner violence? What is that, sir?
That's a good question, and actually it's what you've just started by demonstrating here. It's we say it's violence or aggression within people who are in a romantic relationship.
All right.
And when we talk of romantic relationship, it doesn't matter whether they are married or they are dating. It doesn't matter about their sexual orientation, whether straight or gay. But as much as it's an intimate relationship and people having differences within it, and it comes in different forms. There are people who will have physical fights, there are people who will have sexual violence, I don't know if you know, but there's rape in marriage or in relationship.
Please forgive me. I tend to come out as a legal mind, but I believe I am learned and exposed. But kuna malimu changanikiwa when it comes to saying ati I was raped by my husband. I'm like, is that not a conjugal right? So how did it move from being a conjugal right to actually being rape?
We say that your right stops where mine starts. And so there's something we call consent, and if any of the two parties or three, nowadays I understand that it's more than, it can happen between more than one, so between more than two, sips tea.
As you are saying, David.
So whenever the consent stops, that's when now violence starts. So we might have agreed to go to get intimate or have sex, and then it gets to a point and someone changes mind, then that is where the process stops. So anything after that, then it's taken as violence. So even in marriage, I understand that there are people who will use sex as a weapon to manipulate the other party. So when that is also put into place, that is also a form of violence. And anything that is forced to, any sexual act that is forced to anyone, be it a spouse or a dating person or just someone you met, it's violence.
I hope you're learning something. Huh? I hope you're getting it. Eh?
Yeah.
Then of course, I would also just want us to make sure, not make sure, but also understand that this thing actually happens. It does not mean the gender. It doesn't mean that it's one gender towards the other. Like, okay, let's call it a spoon spoon to spoon. Wanasemanga ati ni wanaume. Most of the cases in wanaume wanasemanga ndio wanachapa wanawake.
Yes.
But we actually have cases of dem ananyorosha Simba. Kwanza najua huko kwetu Kakamega. Hadi leo ulikuwa wapi wanyama? Kuja hapa. So does it actually, do you have those cases?
We do have,
What is the
but
statistics?
very minimum. Actually, because when you look at the statistics and reports that have been recorded about violence against men, and that is why wanaume tunaisha kwa sababu there's no one, we are not speaking and people are not speaking for us. You know, women will talk.
Imagine ni kind of show.
You know,
Ofweneke mzima.
there's that stigma that also stops men from talking, which is so bad. So we have men who are going through violence, but they don't talk about it because of the fear, the stigma that is out there, that when mwanaume unachapwa aje, then we do not accept that it is possible for a man to be violated. And I was still talking about the different forms that happens. Apart from physical and sexual, there's controlling behaviors that are also forms of violence. When any partner controls the other person's life, stalking is a very good example of that. Someone gets to know your moves. Umetoka wapi, umeenda wapi, umeongea na nani. Anytime I stop with someone for a minute, you're like, mlikuwa mnaongea nini? You know, that is stalking and that is controlling and that makes the other person insecure, makes them uncomfortable.
Are we supposed to report? Is there somewhere like
Yes, you should be able to report.
So if
is overliking post stalking. Unapata mimi naweza because but a dem I'm like I have almost 20,000 posts. Dem almost 1,000. I'm like, oh my God, na feel ushaingia kwa bedroom yangu. I need protection. So let me ask, how have you been able, as hires, to make, especially for the men, how have you been able to make sure that men have a conducive environment? And I'm asking this selfishly. A conducive environment to actually come and report. Hata kama ni chini ya maji, hata kama unajua amejifunika zile za Bezi manze jana kulikuwa kubaya. Bali nilipigwa. What have you done to do that?
One, we've created the awareness that we are offering these services for anyone without discriminating whoever comes. And they understand that we have a strong mandate to be able to take care of issues to do with gender-based violence. And specifically today talking about intimate partner violence. And we also have both male and female psychologists in our organization where if someone comes and they feel like they don't want to meet a lady, then they can still talk to a man. You know, we have this cliche among men, and I'll come to you and I'll tell you, "Sunelewa kama mwanaume." You know, as if you know what happened to me. But that is usually so common among men. Actually, even like men who are abused sexually, they'll come and see you and tell you.
Wait. There are men who are abused sexually.
Yeah, there are men who are abused sexually.
Okay.
Yeah.
We are learning something today. We are learning. Moving on,
and
sir.
You know, the experience is they'll come to you and they tell you, no, akanifanyia hiyo kitu. They will never say, I was...
Sorry to laugh.
Yeah, it's so sad, yeah. But it's very bad for a man to talk about it. It really takes about a lot of vulnerability for a man to talk about issues of violence.
Beautiful.
And yeah.
Louis, let's talk about the red flags. What are the red flags for you to know you're going through either emotional, controlling? What are the red flags? We may think we know, but maybe we don't know.
You may think it's love.
Oh my God, sometimes slap me.
Sometimes tunambianga when they have drama or they love you.
You see, it depends on how, and some of the signals my colleague mentioned. But first and foremost is, one, your state of mind, how you feel. The moment you find yourself always conscious about where you are, who you're with, that instinct, that you're not comfortable with the person you're with, that one should give you a red flag. You should start asking yourself, where are you, who are you with, and why are you feeling the way you are feeling. When you're in a relationship, you're supposed to feel secure, you're supposed to feel safe, feel loved, and feel protected. So when you find yourself in such a situation, of course, you have to start reflecting and looking at your situation and trying to find a way to make it better. Another red flag is the most obvious one. The moment it gets violent.
That's it.
The moment something as little as a slap, that should be a flag. You get to start asking. You can start probing, how is my partner's relationship with his family? How is my partner's relationship with his friends? Sometimes you might leave and you find someone just across the road bumps into him accidentally, and it is blown out of proportion. That's what we call outbursts that are in response to something small. When it reaches to that extent, that's a red flag, because that means you're in a situation where someone, because of one small reason, they might find themselves escalating into violence.
Let me just ask, Louis.
Yes.
Have you been able to achieve, or how much have you been able to achieve in terms of just fighting or doing enough civic education to just fight there's that theory of ndio ujue bwanako anakupenda lazima akuslap, you get? And especially, and it's unfortunate, maybe where I come from, it's a conversation that we normally say, oh, then I mean, if he doesn't beat you up, he doesn't slap you a little bit, then probably this guy does. Ati unajua hata mimi anipendangi, miaka 10 tumekaa pamoja. Kwa nini? Mimi hata kitoko tu hata haslap tu acha yeye patia. So how have you been able to fight such of those?
So you've asked a very good question, because that is what we actually try our best to counter. There are these myths and misconceptions that are held by either a community or a society, and some of them are being also driven through culture and faith. So you find that the perception that someone should persist in a place where there is violence will be a sign of love. No, that is not a sign of love. That is not even a relationship.
It's a weakness projecting itself.
That is a circumstance, a situationship that you are in. And it is actually sad, because we find some of us will persist in relationships for different reasons other than love. So most of the reasons will be tied to what people will say, or what people will think, or what I believe with regards to culture and religion. So perceptions such as it is your right, you have a conjugal right, and you find yourself in a space where your partner comes in and finds you at home, you are not ready, it is not your time, you do not feel like having it, and you register that. And the man, because there's this perception, umeoa, umetoa ng'ombe, usinyimwe.
Lazima nipige kura leo. Najua Chebukati amebadilisha siku, lakini ni leo.
So at that point, consent is not gotten, because consent is not permanent at the point of, let's say in marriage you give your vows that you've given your consent for life. No. Consent is momentous. Consent is your choice. You have the right to give it, and you have the right to withdraw it at any time.
Pure. Najua watu single wana celebrate. At least I don't have to go through that. Oh my God. David, let me ask quickly, what is the impact, especially now, specifically to the refugees? What is the impact of all this?
The impact is so huge, and first of all is on the mental health. Anyone going through both physical, sexual, economic, harmful practices, the first part that is affected is the mind. They're in distress because they're not comfortable where they are. Some people leave not sure whether they'll see tomorrow. You've heard of cases where someone wakes up and finds a gun under the pillow or a knife under the pillow. And if they slapped you today, we don't know if tomorrow they're going to kick you.
Oh my God.
You've heard of cases where people go to get admitted in hospital after some physical fights. And so mentally people are really affected when they are in an abusive relationship. And then secondly, there's disability, because out of the beating, out of the physical abuse, people can be broken their legs, their arms, and their spinal cords.
I think I'm getting emotional. Ladies and gentlemen, of course, we're hosting Beatrice, Louis, and David from Highest talking about domestic violence, of course, on the show, ladies and gentlemen. Of course, we have 2 or 3 more questions remaining, of course, for us to just get a clarity and know where you would actually rush to get help, because it's important for you to go and get help. We'll be back after a short break. This is Dr. Ofweneke Tonight.